All right. Last time we were together, we learned and worked with proportions. Let's see how we're doing with that idea. Number one, what did we get? 5 confident people right off the bat, 7 confident people. We'll start with Nathaniel, John, Edgar. What'd you get?
D equals 2.5.
2.5.
Correct answer is 2.5. Number 2, what did we get? We'll start with Davis, Dalton, Stephanie.
C equals 3.2. C equals 54. C equals 3.2.
So we have some disagreement. What do you think, Daniela? The correct answer is 3.2. Remember, you get a question wrong, you need to write down the correct answer. And one of your jobs is to find your own mistake if possible. Now, the EOC question, the question type of question you will see at the end of course exam in May. How much longer will it take? Got 2 confident people. Same 3 people who volunteered for the first one. Didn't have enough time to finish, weren't sure what to do. Okay, we'll start with Sebastian, Edgar, John, Nathaniel. Okay. Edgar?
0.5 minutes.
Okay, so that's slightly different because you said 0.5 seconds and you say 0.5 minutes. John?
I know 57.14.
Okay.
30 seconds.
30 seconds. Okay. I will actually accept several different answers. Here is a very precise answer. It comes out to about 0.47 minutes. If you put 0.5 minutes, that's excellent. If you put 30 seconds, that's a great interpretation because Nathaniel just proved how you can think, okay, half a minute, that's 30 seconds. So that's a very nice, precise answer. Anyone have a different answer that they think maybe is right but aren't sure? Okay. So let's talk about, I'm going to leave you to numbers 1 and 2. You got to try and find your mistake now that you know the correct answer. So you're going to take a minute to do that. But first we're going to talk about number 3. So, Nathaniel, what was the first thing you did?
When I first started, I made 2 ratios. 60 for the laser. 60 is equal to 1.15 minutes. And 60 minutes is 1.5 minutes for the lightning.
Okay, so we've got laser. And the laser Blu-ray burner is 60 minutes of data to 1.5 minutes of time. And then you said the lightning is 60 minutes of data to 1.5 minutes of time. That's how you wrote it, or you wrote it with an equal sign?
The colon.
The colon. Okay, very good. That's nice and advanced. Okay, and then, Edgar, what did you do with this information?
I put an equal sign and put 80 over x. You try and find out
Very good. So you did what? You formed a what?
proportion.
Yeah, you formed a proportion. And he was actually super quick thinking because yours was flip-flopped, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he knows that you could actually flip-flop this and it will still work as long as you put the next piece of information in the right place. And then, if you look at his paper, he did the same thing here with the lightning. And this is exactly how you use a proportion to find missing information. Everybody in this room should have been able to get this far. Because the whole key is forming a ratio of information. So you should have been able to interpret that when you're talking about one object, the laser Blu-ray player, 60 minutes of data in 1.5 minutes, that's a ratio. But then you are asked, how long will it take to burn 80 minutes of data? And that's where the 80 comes in. Okay? Yes, and then yes.
Yeah, I just did it.
Okay.
I did a different method where you had 60 over 1.15, and I saw that 60 and 80, you needed plus 20, which is 1/3 of 60. So I divided 1.15 by 0.25 to be able to get.
I'm with you. I don't know if other people are with you, but I'm with you.
I divided that by 0.25 and I got 2.875. I added that to the 1.15 and I rounded it to 1.5 and then I subtracted it from the 2 and I got 0.5 minutes.
Good. Okay, that's pretty high level thinking that you went through. That's great. And it worked. That's the key. And so here's what happens. You cross product, and you end up with x equals approximately 1.53 repeating. If you do this, when you do this one, you end up with x equals 2. So Kayla, what was the actual question? Because the answer was not 1.53 and the answer was not 2. What was the question?
How much longer would it take for the laser CD burner to burn 80 minutes of data than the light?
Okay. So what do you have to do with this information at the end? Yeah, you have to subtract them. When you're trying to find how much longer, then you had to do 2 minus 1.53. My savvy math students who figured it out over there took the 1.53 and just made it 1.5 because that's pretty close. Excuse me. That's pretty close. And so they knew that this would be a very good approximation of the answer. And it comes out to half a minute. So you will never, when you're being tested on an EOC or on one of my tests, you might have a few questions where, like number 1 and 2, where I ask you just to simply solve the proportion. That's pretty basic idea. But that's not applying the idea. This is what you want to be able to do. This is what you want to be able to do.
For number 2, I accidentally put 18 instead of 1.9.
And that's why you ended up with that answer? Okay. It's an honest mistake. Are there any questions on number 3? Okay. Anyone find their own mistake for numbers 1 and 2 that they can share with us? Go ahead, Michaela.
I put a plus sign instead of a minus sign.
For which one?
The 1.
You instead of b minus 0.5, you put b plus? Okay.
I got to subtract 4C from 6C.
So you cross product here, and you cross product here,
Yeah.
and then you end up with 6C on this side, and you ended up with a 4C on this side, and you didn't combine, you didn't move it to the other side, you didn't subtract 4C from both sides.
No, I wrote down subtraction. I just forgot to do the subtraction.
Okay. Okay. Next goal.
I forgot to put the decimal points.
In number 2 or in both of them?
Number 2.
Okay. Did you didn't see them or you wrote it and you?
I copied it.
Okay. Nathaniel?
I'm taking 7.2 for 12.2, and I got 0.7 over 1 on
Okay. Good. Okay. Anybody else? Very good. So what I'm training you to do and I'm asking you to do is constantly be trying to find your own issues. That's a really important and valuable learning experience. Okay? Any other questions? Okay, take the warm up and put it to the... Today we're going to be working with percents. This lesson is in chapter 3. It is 3.7, but I don't know if it necessarily totally belongs. I feel like it's a little out of place, but I'm going to get it out of the way now because I don't want to deal with it later on. It's in this chapter and at this point because it relates to proportions. But you guys are an extremely high-level math class, and so even though I'm going to teach you a proportion method, make sure you're listening to me. Even though I'm going to teach you a proportion method, you can actually use any method that you would like to be successful. So I'm actually going to be going pretty quickly today. So, finding percents using a proportion method. We have this template of a proportion. Template meaning it's set up with spots for us to fill in. So, we all know what a proportion looks like. It's a fraction bar equals a fraction bar. When you're working with percents, you're going to automatically fill in a 100 in the bottom right. Because that's what a percent is. A percent means out of 100. So we need the out of 100. Now the other three spots. You take information from the question that you're trying to figure out, and you fill in the other three spots. And then you solve the proportion. The three spots have names. This is the percent. That's why I have this arrow for this position right here. So whatever the percent is in the question, that's going to go right here. That's easy. The other two are a little bit more strange. This is called the of, and this is called the is. At the moment, you probably have no idea what I'm talking about. But in about a minute, it's going to make perfect sense to you. Before I explain the of and the is, do things in this order. You always put the 100 here. Then you're going to find the percent first. Then you do the of. So it goes like this. Here, here, here. The last thing you're going to fill in is this. So what am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about situations such as this. 13 is 26% of what number? So that's a question that we need to answer. Some of you might have a method already that you could use to figure this out. Some of you might not. As I said a moment ago, I'm going to teach you this method. Use it or use your own. Either way, you have to get the right answer. So we start filling in the proportion. 100 always goes right here. Now we do things in order. Read the question and see if there's a percent. If there is, you put it right here. So what's the percent in this question, Kayla? 26. Now, we're not going to put the percent symbol because this is taking the place of the percent symbol. So we're just going to write 26. Then the next thing you're going to do is the of. The of is whatever comes immediately after the word of. So you actually have to look in the question, find the word of, and then find what comes after it. So what is coming after it in this case? Alexandra? Okay, so what am I going to write right here? Very good. That was a great interpretation. Since we don't know, we put a variable. And so this is going to be our n or our x or whatever letter you would like to use. The last part is easy. You don't even have to think about it. There's only one piece of information that we haven't used yet. What's the piece of information we haven't used yet? Janae? The 13. So the 13 must go right there. Now, cross product, solve, or you may not even need to do that. You could probably figure it out, but we're not going to figure it out now. I'm just teaching you how to set it up. Any questions so far before we look at two other examples? Okay. 21 is what percent of 40? So again, the 100 is automatic. Then we find the percent. So what's the percent in this question, Stephanie?
8%.
Okay, what was the first thing you were going to say? A variable. We don't know the percent, so you put a variable. What's the of? What's the of going to be in this case, Daniela? 40. Because it comes immediately after the word of, that's going to be 40. There's only one piece of information we haven't used yet. What is it? Kalasia? 21 goes right here. And we've set it up, cross product, and solve. Now, there's another way to do this question. I would actually not do it this way personally, because 21 of 40 is just like that right there. Look at this right here. What do we usually do with that? What do we usually do? John? Yeah, you divide it, and then we move the decimal over 2 spaces, and we got the percent. So I don't know if you need the proportion for this type of question, but it will help, and it will always get you the right answer. Does anyone have any questions on the second example? Okay, so I have a third example, but I think I'd like to just move on to the formal ones that we're going to do from beginning to end. So we're not going to do that, and let's just go to example number 1, and let's set them up and solve them, and see if we can explore some alternative ways to solve them as well.
Are you doing hard first? Have
I don't know if there's anything hard in this, so I just have kind of an assortment of questions. So what number is 46% of 200? We're going to start out with the proportion method, and then we'll talk about other methods that you could use for this style of question. So I'm going to fill in the first thing automatically, and then I'm just going to call on 3 people. You're going to give me one piece of information and tell me where it goes. I don't care. You do whatever you think is right. Valerie, give me one thing.
46 goes over 100.
Good. Perfect. 46 goes right there. Michaela?
200 goes in the bottom left.
Bottom left. Very good. I got one spot left. Edgar?
X goes in the top of the middle.
Very good. N, X, whatever, it doesn't matter. Now, you have your choice. You can do the cross products like you were taught. So we could do cross product and cross product. But I don't even know if we need to do that, because when you have denominators that look like this, where we have a 200 and a 100, what did we do to the 100 to get to the 200? Sebastian? Multiply times 2. So all we have to do, you multiply the bottom by 2, you multiply the top by 2, and you get your answer. So what is the missing value in this question? Kayla in the back over here? It is 92. So what number is 46% of 200? 92 is. Very good. Anyone have are there any questions on this? Anyone have a completely different method that is totally unrelated to proportions? Because for this question, I would never do a proportion. I would do something else. Well, Dr. Pepper will help, yes. For those of you who don't remember Dr. Pepper, that will convert the percent to a decimal. Good. Well, here's something that I taught you earlier in the year. What does the word of mean in math? What does it mean, Fung? It means multiply. So really what this says is 46% times 200. But Kayla over here was correct. We don't use the 46, we use Dr. Pepper to convert it to a decimal. So it's 0.46 times 200. Everyone pick up your calculator and do 0.46 times 200. Give me a thumbs up when you've got the answer. Good, Danielle, what'd you get? Okay, what'd you get, Galatia? Okay, so what did you get, Danielle? 0.92? Do it again. 0.46 times 200? You should have gotten 92. So I don't care which method you use. I don't care if you use magic. Doesn't matter. As long as you get the correct answer every time. Did you get it now? Good. Any questions? All right, so let's explore another example. 26 is what percent of 32? Start out with the proportion method, which does work every time, and then we'll explore other methods. So I'm going to call on 3 people. You give me something, a piece of information, and tell me where to put it. My quiet students, stay on your toes, because I may just call on you just to keep you involved. Good. We'll start with Shannon Dalton. Shannon, give me something. Very good. I love the way you described that. That was excellent. Dalton.
The 26 goes over like at the top, or the 36 goes at the bottom.
Okay, well, I don't have a 36, and I'm a little confused.
32 goes at the top.
Okay, so let's start with that. The 32 is the of, which makes the 26 the is. Now, I don't have friendly denominators. I don't have anything really easy here, so let's just do cross product. Cross product. And we'll get 32n equals 2600. And now you just have to do 2600 divided by 32. What'd you get? Nope, tell me exactly what you got.
81.25.
Very good. You get 81.25. In this question, we were looking for a percent, which means we must put the percent symbol. Otherwise, it does not have the correct meaning. The alternative strategy is to just understand that basically we're saying that's the number of correct questions, this is the total number of questions, and all we have to do is divide. So if we do 26 divided by 32, which is the same thing we have written over here, let's use our calculator and see what we get. 26 divided by 32. Daniela? You get 0.8125. So this equals 0.8125. But now we need to do Dr. Pepper because that's decimal form. And so Dr. Pepper tells us to move the decimal over 1, 2, and that's how we get 81.25. Caleb.
Didn't you just divide both sides around, like, when you go graphing to the other area on the left side?
Yep.
Didn't you just divide both sides by 32 and then get A equals 81.25 and then shove this out?
Divide both sides by 32 down here. Yeah, that's what we did. Yeah, I didn't write it down, but that's how we got from here to here. Yep.
I did 100 divided by 32, and it gave me 3.125, and then I multiplied that by 26, and it gave me 81.25.
Very good. That's another method to use. Is that something you've done before, or were you just experimenting? You've done it before? So if that works for you, then do it. Very good. Okay, are there any other questions? Okay. Here's the case where maybe there is an alternative way to do it, but it's not as easy to understand. So this is the case that you might just want to use the proportion. When the of is missing, like in this case, this is where the proportion becomes very, very handy. So I'm going to leave it up to you. And that's all I need to demonstrate for this question is there's basically three different types of questions. Here, the is missing. In part B, the percent is missing. In part C, the of is missing. For the first two, there are alternative methods you could use that you might, as an advanced young person, find easier. But part C, there is an alternative, but it's a little hard to understand, so I would probably just stick with the proportion method. Any questions about that? And even here, you could simplify things really easily. 40 and 100 have a common factor of 20. That becomes a 2. That becomes a 5. And then just figure out what did you multiply to get there, and then do the same thing there. So there's a lot of shortcuts you can take. What did you get? 30. So you get 30 is the missing number. Any questions? Good, we're doing quite well. Let's see how you do on your own. Checkpoint number 1. You got 2 questions. You got 2 minutes. Use whatever method you would like, but I would double check and make sure you're confident about your answer. Make sure your answer makes sense. All right, colored pens up. Let's see how we're doing with finding percents. What did we get for part A? Part A, we got 4 confident people, 6 confident people. Dole, Stephanie, Chris.
60%.
60.
Yes, it is 60%, and you have to put the percent symbol. If you don't have the percent symbol, only give yourself half. And on a quiz, I will mark it wrong. On a test, I will mark it wrong. Has to have the percent symbol. Part B, what did you get? We'll start with Sebastian R., and then we'll go to Nathaniel, and then Daniela.
46.43.
Okay?
And equals 46.
Okay? The correct answer is 46.43. I will accept 46. Daniela, you didn't do anything horrible, but unfortunately 46.42 is incorrect because of this. If you do, let me think about how this came out. You got 3,900 divided by 84. This is what you end up with. You are not allowed to just cut off numbers. The only thing you're allowed to do is round. So Nathaniel, by saying 46, I know that he rounded by looking at this number. But if you round, if you cut off from here, you have to look at this number and then change this number if necessary. This 8 means that that would have to be a 3. So I don't want you to mark it wrong. I don't want you to get upset. But you have to pay attention to rounding. It's not okay to just cut off numbers. You have to round. Okay? So 46.43 is the best answer. I will accept 46.4. I will accept 46. I will accept 46.428. Was it 46.428?
Yeah.
No, it would have to be 46.429. My mistake. Like that. Okay? Comments, questions, concerns on either of these? John?
I don't understand.
You don't understand B? Okay, did you try to take a shortcut?
No, I didn't cross.
Okay, good. So here's the setup. You should have had the 100 here, the 84 here. You got that, right? Yes?
No, I see why I put the wrong one.
Yeah, where?
I put somehow on 50%.
Okay. So here's where the 39 goes, and that's the setup.
It's like 84%.
39 is 84% of what number? Thank you. Any questions? Okay, so now, applying it to a real scenario. Everyone, write example 2, part A, but do not copy the question. What I would like you to do is read the question, and then we are going to rewrite it into a simpler form. Good, I can tell most of us have read it. That's good. So I said don't copy it, but now we're going to write something together. I want to rewrite the whole thing so that these 3 sentences become one. And I want the sentence to read like one of these. I want it to look like one of those or one of these. So how can we do that? I am going to start, and then I'm going to call on some volunteers to fill in one word at a time. So I'm going to start. And you're working with me. What number? Can someone fill in the next word that would make sense? Edgar?
Is?
What number is? What comes next? Kayla?
86%.
That is right. What number is 86%? What comes next? Extol?
Of one.
Of.
One.
Of. Of. What comes after that? What number is 86% of? John?
Oh,
102.2 million. And we have successfully interpreted this entire scenario and condensed it into one simple question. From here, now we have our choice of method. We could use the proportion method, which is pretty simple. The 86 goes on top. The 102.2 million. Now, let me go on a little side trip. 102.2 million. That is a short way of writing a really long number. So you have 2 choices. You can either write 102.2, don't write the word million, but then when you write your answer, you have to make sure you put the word million back. Or you could write the entire number. here's what 102.2 million looks like. 102.2 million. So since our calculators have limited amount of numbers that you can type in, you're probably better off using this and then writing the word million at the end. That's what I would do. Okay? And so this is the missing number up here. Now let's find the cross product and solve. So go ahead, you can start. Let me get rid of this. So cross product this way, cross product that way, you get 100n equals what? 86 times 102.2. What do you get there, Kayla? You get, wait, when you just do this multiplication, what do you get? I think you did the next step also. Yeah, that's it. Get 8,789.2. And now the final step is to divide both sides by 100. Divide by 100. And now go ahead, Kayla. You already said it. What did we end up with? 87.892 million homes. Any questions on how we did that, Nathaniel?
It's not a question how we did it.
Go ahead, anything, comment.
Like round the end.
Well, when you're talking about, think about this number, 87.892. If we round that to 88 million, that's pretty good. But we got to be careful because now you're basically disregarding 100 million people. I'm sorry, 100,000 people. Because this really means 87,892,000. So if I round that up to 88 million, I'm actually adding 108,000 people that don't really exist. So you got to kind of be careful about when to round and when not to. Okay? It's a good question, though. So any comments or questions on how we got from here to this question here? That was the really important part. Okay, I think we're doing well, and I'm going to modify the lesson. I'm not going to do this, and we're not going to do this. We're going to work on our own with either assistance from someone near you or with my help. Draw a line across your paper, your classwork. It's page 27. You're going to do number 17, and then you're going to do 14, 13, 12, 11, and I don't think we need to do, let me change this. Let's just do 14, 13, 12, 11. Yeah, let's just go down to 11. Okay? So you've got 5 questions, you've got 10 minutes. Okay, but not these questions. Just how to do the percent. Yeah, that's a slightly different approach. You can do that too. Like I said, I want success. I don't really care how you achieve that.
Why are you banging on the door?
All right, let's see how we're doing so far with percents. Colored pens up. Number 17 comes out to a slightly different number than this, but the publisher rounded. So if you got 51,500,000 something or something like that, 400 something thousand, that's good too. Somewhere around 51 million. Number 14 is 6%. Number 13 is 15%. Number 12 is 30. And number 11 is 60. Give me a thumbs up if you got 4 out of 5 or better. 4 out of 5 or better. Good, put your thumbs down. Questions on any of these? Valerie, Alexandra, Stephanie. Number 17. So 17 is the question that was similar to the example we did, where my goal for you was to take a complicated sounding scenario and rewrite it. Whether you actually rewrote it or just use your brain to rewrite it, the key is to be able to fill in the spots on the proportion. Give me a thumbs up if you got 17 correct. Okay, Matthew, give me one of the pieces of information and where it goes.
10.5% is over the 100%.
Yeah, I was supposed to put the 100, so 10.5 goes right there. Very good. I just lost who was. Daniela, give me another piece of information. Okay, 5.4 million goes in the of, so 5,400,000 goes in the of, and then this is the missing number. Yes. Switch it. You think the 5.4 million goes on top? Okay, let's see. Antarctica comprises about 10.5% of the total land area on Earth. So here's the of. 10.5% of the total land area on Earth. Antarctica has a surface area of about 5,400,000 square miles. What is the total land area? So which is missing? The is or the of? I think that's what Michaela is bringing up, is she's saying, well, that's supposed to be up top, and the n is supposed to be on the bottom. So which one goes where? What's missing? Of the total land area on Earth. Which one's missing? Only 3 people can use their brains? Kayla? You think the is missing? Okay. Well, it says of the total land area on Earth. Does it give us the total land area somewhere else in the question?
Yes.
It does? What's the total land area of the Earth? No, that's the total land area of Antarctica.
Surface area.
So the of is what's missing. This is what is missing. So this has to go on top because the of is missing. So was that easy to interpret? Not necessarily. But if you had translated it into another statement, you might have had a greater level of success. That was the reason why we did the example the way we did. So Daniela, did you end up with the right answer? Okay. So, but the answer was 51 million. So your answer, now here's the thing, is if you reread the question and looked at your answer, you would know it didn't make sense because it says Antarctica, which is the smaller piece, has 5,400,000. Is your number smaller or larger? Okay, so if this is a piece of the whole, could the whole be smaller than it? No, it had to be bigger. So if you had reflected, and I'm not saying you did anything wrong, I'm saying this is common with young people, is you got to look at the question and see if your answer makes sense. So this is the only way to set it up so that it works. Okay? Comments, questions? Okay. Draw a line across your paper. Your homework is page 181. You're doing numbers 4 through 28 even and 34 to 40 even. That's a total of 17 questions. Make sure you write down that it's 17 questions. You're going to read the next section, which is page 186 to 188. Very important. You must read. It's not optional. And your next assessment will be a test on chapter 3 next week.